Hey everyone, and welcome to another kit bashing video in my very Mordheim inspired temporary space. Now, it is thematic because today we're going to be making some Mordheim characters for our Wifrup campaign, Adventures in Mordheim. Yes, that's right, we just did a 5-episode live play of Adventures in Mordheim, a Wifrup campaign, where Taylor and Fiona took Sigfreda and Eadric through the wilds around and within Mordheim in search of a vampire. Now, the characters we created were incredible. Both Taylor and Fiona brought their A-game when coming up with them. First off, Fiona with Sigfreda. Sigfreda was a witch hunter who, in her own words, is the badder cop to the bad cop, which is just great. And you can just instantly imagine all those amazing witch hunter models with the cool, really cool hat, the big, long, black leather cloak with a cool crossbow, Van Helsing vibes. All the way. So easy to sort of see how that could be grim-darked and made for a Mordheim campaign. Taylor, on the other hand. Taylor. She said she wanted to play a filthy rich noble. And I'm like, right, okay. With pretty boy Castlevania vibes. And I was like, yes, I love it. But how the heck was I going to do that? So we will find out, and I was actually really fortunate to find a really good dandy model for this. Now, first up, I'm going to show you a video where me and Taylor and Fiona all got on a call before I got started to talk about their characters and how they wanted them to be modeled. But before we do that, can we please just do the YouTubery thing and ask you to give us a like, click the subscribe and then bell for the notification so you know when next videos are up, and be sure to check out all the great and wonderful things Fiona and Taylor do. Me and Fiona do a podcast called the DM's Book Club where we talk about D&D and all things related to that. She also runs the What Am I Rolling podcast and has been nominated for a Crit Award nonetheless for her hosting on that show and the one with me. And you should check that out because she's looked at over 50 different TTRPGs and it's incredible. Just do it. And Taylor does the Backwater Bastards with Dan. Dan you will know from our live streams we do together here on the channel. And talking of podcasts, you can find our Adventures in Mordheim anywhere you find good podcasts. And there'll be links in the show notes below for all of these things, but you can just search for them by going to any podcaster of your choice. Now let's go over to that chat where me and Taylor and Fiona all got together to talk about Sigfreda and Lord Eadric van Bebenberg III of the House and the Mark.
The thing I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to make you some models, which is what this is going to be going for.
I'm so excited for this part.
Exactly.
This has never happened to me before.
Yeah,
I've played
really?
like 1,000 games.
Yeah.
And nobody's ever made a mini.
Oh my gosh. I need to
Now
know
you kind of
then
have to.
what elements you want me to put into your models that you think that are critical. What I need to get across. Elements of your character, or things that you want, equipment you want, I don't know, particular things like that.
Well, vibes and what I want, most importantly, are the same thing. Big hat. And yeah, the bigger the hat, the better. Obviously, as we said, it's about status and power. Dark colours.
A Diamante for you as well.
Yes, of course, a Diamante, and I've gone, no, thank you.
Do you have any Templar, insignias on you? Do you think you'd be, or would you just be black leather? Would it be leather
I
coat?
think I would do, but wherever it is, I've torn it off.
I like that. So
I don't play by the rules.
Yes, you can have my badge. I don't need it. Yeah.
And you're like, you ruined that coat again.
Every time. She goes and gets a new one just so she can rip it off and go, I don't need your badge and your rules.
Yes, and your companions passed away again. Oh! Maybe there's a detachable patch, so just put a little colour of brown or something.
Patch.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But otherwise, I can imagine. And probably a big crossbow. Would like
crossbow.
that. Yeah, big.
Easy. Big crossbow.
Yeah.
Big sword as well.
Okay. Go on then. You've twisted my arm.
Big crossbow.
Yeah.
Looking fierce.
Well, I thought that was just a part of the assignment anyway. Sorry, I didn't. Yes, look.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine if I go? Actually, looks a little bit weak. No.
Looking very dainty.
Well, that'll be. Is that both of us? No tanks here.
Do you want both of you doing a?
No, I think we need to look badass. I think that's also badass, please.
No,
So,
you're right.
on the flip side, to coin a phrase, Taylor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you writing this down?
I'm writing this down.
I have requests. I need wispy Castlevania sort of half up, half down kind of hair, maybe. Like,
Okay.
I need to be a bit delicate. And refined.
Okay.
It needs to be very clear that that I am a individual of great, rarity.
Is it Adonis or Pretty Boy? That's the question, though. Is it more like
I want to be pretty,
even the
and I need a great coat. Like I need to be able to kind of like flip it. There needs to be some sort of accoutrement of my wealth, like
yes,
in a way.
Value. Okay.
And I think I'm a bit of I'm a pistol guy.
You're a pistol guy. I like it.
Nice ones.
Very handy.
Nice ones. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There's hardware on that gun. It needs to look like desperately expensive.
Okay, yeah. It needs to you need to express your wealth.
Like not in a taste, not tasteful.
Taylor, what is the colors? What colors would you love your coat to
I'm
be?
blonde.
Oh, your hair's blonde. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's really
And what
everything
about
else.
What about your coat?
Nothing else matters.
Like, would it be purples, like royal?
I was gonna say purple
blues?
royals.
Ooh,
Yeah.
purple. No, royal blue.
Royal blue.
Ooh, yes.
Royal
yes,
blue.
yes.
And
Yeah.
in the lining?
Ooh, I don't know. It depends on the coat. It depends
Like
on the
royal
coat.
blue with like a cream interior.
Well, I was gonna say, like, again, not to make more work for Hamilton, but you know how some of the royal cloaks,
It's
so they have
okay.
like,
It's okay.
They have they have that sort of white fluffy things with black dots in it. I don't know if that's a
The
kind of animal.
ermine. The
There you
ermine.
go.
Oh, you want the inner lining to be white
With a
black
little bit
dots.
of that snow leopard check.
Okay, yeah.
Little bit of that.
Yeah, okay.
Hamilton, it's okay. It's okay because there's never a lot of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Instead of on the coat.
Somewhere an insignia on the back, like massive, like a jersey.
Oh, you'd
probably
like it
a
on the
bad
back.
idea. Probably a bad idea.
No, a bad idea because that's a target on your back.
That's
Something
exactly.
small.
So put
Like
it
I
on-
think like this would be small. It would be somewhere.
I'll think of somewhere to put it.
Quite
I really
dark.
love how we're operating under the understanding that minis are like this big.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tay. Well, as you can hear, I've got a lot of work cut out for me, particularly in the painting, so the easier I can make this modelling, the better. And I was really fortunate because this Galen and Doralia Van Dent set from the City of Sigmar range was pretty perfect for both of them. Firstly, Galen has this dandy look with the pose and the coat swish that was all what Tay wanted, and Doralia was pretty much what Sigfreda wanted to be. So here, this one is about how to add vibe more than anything, and just how you can use little moments and details and a paint job just to get you that characterization and uniqueness in a model. So I took the Galen set, got the body together, and there they are, looking pretty dandy and fly, I must say. Now, looking at it, I wanted to start by adding some really cool details, and the first thing that came to mind was this big cloak I have in my Interna set, because I thought, we've got a dandy on campaign, and therefore they want to have this big overcoat, like they've gone to the market and been really like extravagant. I was thinking like the Lady Hera model, if you've seen that, has the servitors holding her cloak. So I thought maybe that's where I could go with this. However, it was a bit too Jon Snow, and Eadric's a bit more fine and effete than Jon Snow. So I did try to cut out the top, maybe seeing that as like a detail to add to the existing cloak to maybe make it feel a little less over the top. However, it was always a bit too heavy set. Now, none of this is going to waste though, because I do end up using this on the Sigfreda model later. So what I'm doing here is cutting around the toothing of the edge of the claw and the rest of the fur line to take that off from the leather part of the whole cloak. Still, as you can see, it's just too heavy set, and it was unfortunate because I thought maybe this ruching on the collar would be cool, but again, as I said, I take this to Sigfreda later and make it work. Now, here is the most psychotic video I have ever had to make. So I wanted Taylor to have a look at all the heads I had so that she could make a choice about what she thought Eadric would look like, and I sent her this. She did think I'd gone a bit crazy. However, did think it would make good TikTok content, but again, I don't know if I want to portray myself as that psychopathic. So here we are. Anyway, finally she settled on, not the space buns, do love that, this head. Yes, that's the one. As you can see though, it's missing the hairpiece from the back, so we need to deal with that later. Yeah, this is Tay's response, as you can see. First up, the head didn't fit in the ball socket joint. It has this little nubbin, so we needed to cut that off and also do a little bit of trimming on that neck joint just to make it fit better within the reveal. Now it's fitting relatively nicely. I thought it's next up to look at some hair options. I found this nice flowing one, but what really fit better for me was this man bun, because I was thinking, yes, Eadric probably does have nice wispy flowing hair, but he's on campaign, darling. I can't get it dirty. So I thought this man bun would be perfect. You know, you sort of put it up neat on when he's out and about. So I had to do a little bit of equilibrium style, chopping the head in half. Oh, that's so disgusting. And stick the two together before fitting that back in the socket. And there you go. Now, originally I was going to go for this barrel-sighted pose. You know, I'm looking down the barrel of my gun, being super cool. But that isn't very Eadric. Eadric isn't that cool. Eadric is in love with himself. He is the ultimate narcissist. And what's more narcissistic than a hand mirror? And what's more narcissistic than just a hand mirror? Staring at it whilst you have your gun in your other hand, posing whilst you're in Mordheim. So this is making Eadric the Mordheim influencer he was born to be. So yeah, I just cut the gun and the hand off this arm and then stuck this, what is actually in fact a left hand on the right hand arm. Now, there was still some plastic surgery to do to rebalance the arm and hand together, but we do come to that later when we do a bit of wider plastic surgery throughout the model. So I glued that on, and there he is. My gosh, Eadric, look at yourself. Look at me, I look gorgeous, darling. I love this model so much. I just love everything about the character, and I really do hope you go and watch the show we made with Eadric, because they're not actually the full dandy. They're not actually the most green person, and I kind of actually had that in my mind when I was... Oh, sorry, I'm going to cut myself off here. Check out the gun. Mordheim shopping trip. Love it. Yeah, it's not the dandy that you actually expect them to be. You know, they've got a little bit of this sinisterness to them, and this evil side which comes out, which I really enjoyed as a GM because it surprised me. Now, back to the modelling. This is our plastic surgery moment. You might have seen earlier me shaving down a bit of the face, but here I cut off that opposable thumb that's in the wrong place. A little bit of inbreeding going on there. And I routed out some lines in the hair to make the flow between the two pieces a bit neater. And I did some shaving down on the face because when I was gluing the two bits together, some glue got out and melted down that plastic. So just needed to sort that out. Now, in order to elevate these models and tidy them up and make them look just that bit more special, I went to this Harrow Deep Underworld set that I had of the Stormcast Eternals and got these bases off them because they've got this cobblestone with some overgrowths, mud in them, and I thought that will be perfect for my Mordheim settings, like mini dioramas that I could make. So I took both of them off and chose one of them to work for Eadric. Now, Tay had said she wanted something to express her wealth, and I couldn't think of anything better than a chest full of money. And so I put together this chest I had from my bits box, and I was going to set this up as, you know, making this a bit of a wider little diorama pieces to put on to the model base. I also just used the posing of the model to hide the holes that they had, which actually fit quite well. It was one of those happy accidents. I didn't actually have to do any filling. But for future reference, if you ever do need to fill a hole or you've got one of those slotter bases, the best way to do it is just with a bit of masking tape. Anyway, there they are, looking fly. What a pose. Eadric's had a little bit of a drink. He's falling over there. Hamilton, turn it around, turn around, turn around. There we go. Look at that. That's Eadric all modelled. Next up, we can have a look at Sigfreda, or Sigfreda. Now, again, as with Eadric, we just started with the base of Duralia. Took the bodice off, took the head and the hat off, and put basically the body together and tidied up mold lines, got rid of the sprue tags, all that sort of goodness. Glue the two bits together. And we got a really good base. Next up, I just did the same thing as ever and just got bits out of the bits box and from sprues and just put them down as things that I thought could work. As with Eadric though, I went back to this sort of cloak element, this fur, because I wanted to make, the additional vibe for Sigfreda is very much, resourceful and, wilderness and rough and rugged. This is a witch hunter, but a witch hunter who's like a lone wolf. Yes, I did go there. And so I thought having this pelt, like they've gone into the wilds and they've fought a bear and killed it and then had to use it to keep themselves warm, or they've kept it as a trophy, and I thought that could work. I did try and make it so they had the paw flowing down, a little bit like those old school minks that you see where people actually have the animal as a decoration, which is pretty vulgar, but that's kind of what we're going for here. But I didn't get the flow. I didn't think it worked very well with the flow, and I wanted to put a big Thekov sword on the back there, so I gave up on that. But I think having this as this ruche on the shoulder was working pretty well. Obviously there's a huge gap right now, and I felt, well, I'll find some form of pauldron that will fix that. But for now it's just about tidying up and getting the shape and size of it to sort of work and work with the scale of the rest of the model. Next up was this really cool longsword from the Eternus model, obviously filled with loads of Chaos insignia, so I needed to cut those off, shave them down. It also was slightly warped, and so I had to sort of smooth that out and stick that on to the back of them so they have a really cool sword. The Duralia model came with a sword, but it wasn't big enough. And it didn't have a skull insignia on the back of it, so which I did keep because that's cool. So yeah, there they are, looking just that little bit more meaner. I was trying to fix that gap in the sort of fur pauldron. I don't know what I was doing with that flag. Hamilton, that's not going to work. But I found this spiky thing and I liked it, and it fit quite well in the hole. So I just sort of readjusted it a little bit, squeezed it down and fit that in, and there they go. I'm just trying to give more edge, more spikiness, and I did that basically. Next up was the head and the hat, just as they are in the model. Stick those on. Yeah, you just can't even see the face. That's what you need it to be. And the same with the crossbow. Now, this is for a bit later, but a happy accident makes this a lot cooler in the painting phase. But you're going to have to wait till that to see how we make this just a little bit extra fly. For the base, I took the other one that was left over from that Harrowdeep set, and I thought, well, I need to get another accoutrement, little diorama piece for Sigfreda. Now, I didn't have anything in particular that I could find in my box that really fit with the vibe, so I just thought I'll just add something that just adds to the sense of Mordheimness, of this city street. And so I found this barrel, but a barrel that's been wrapped up and is a little bit broken, and stuck that together and fit that onto the base. Now there was a foot left over from the Stormcast model, so I had to cut that off from this tactical rock. Now, I've said a lot of bad things about tactical rocks. I'm not as angry about them as many other people are, but this time, I gotta say, it worked very well for hiding the dent there was in the bottom of this barrel. And so, you heard it here first. Tactical rocks, very cool. You can caption that if you want. Once they were all stuck down, we had our models pretty much done. And let's have a look at the two of them together. Hey, look at our pair. I think they look super cool. I was really happy, and nothing more that I wanted to do than catch up with Taylor and Fiona and see what they thought.
Okay. All right, we can look. I think. A few says.
Here is the prettiest.
Oh, that's exactly the stance.
Plug my...
Wait, what is Eadric holding? Is that a mirror?
It's a mirror.
Of course it is, because as a lord, I would have like a beautiful gilded hand mirror.
You would.
And is that like all your worldly possessions in a trunk behind you?
Of course it isn't.
Right.
I have way more than that.
Oh.
Is that good?
Incredible.
What do you think this is?
I don't know. Oh,
You know what I mean?
wow.
Like, this is my like day trip case.
I love the pose of like.
The
It looks like
stance.
you look like you're taking a selfie with your gun, and you're like
Well-
just shopping.
Shopping. That's just
I've just got to Mordheim.
look at the highlight.
Yeah, I love it.
I am so excited to see how the highlight works because like I've seen this recently and I've never tried it,
I've tried it
like-
once and it actually didn't really help, but I thought I'd try it for this.
but it looks so cool right now.
Yeah.
Usually I just
What does it do with the highlight? Does it make it?
It helps
Like-
give some shadowing. It should help where the volumes are, so you can get where light's going to hit it. So it just helps you paint later.
This is so
A
cool.
lot of people
Like
use contrast paints that then are like slightly
Mhm.
translucent, but I'm not going to do that. 'cause
Oh,
I've never tried to like
love it.
cultivate
So good.
like false lighting in a mini,
Yeah.
and I love when other people do it. So I'm super excited to see like how this goes.
The fact
I
that
love the
Eadric has their
chest.
own light.
You
Yeah, the
can
chest looks
do
great.
Your insignia on the back. Of
Yes.
That.
And the
Ah.
swish of the greatcoat,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted.
What
Yeah.
I
And
love
this
is
hair?
how dandy it looks, and it's not actually that dandy a model, the original one, but it's kind of funny.
But that's the magic of like kit bashing.
Mm,
You can
It
have
looks-
whatever you want.
looks really good.
I
Nice
am
work.
thrilled, and this changes the character for me a little bit. Like we were gonna start this, and have to just how you do. Like you just kind of start from the ground up, and you're like, well, this is what I said I was gonna do, so let's see how it works out. But now I've seen them.
Yeah, they look great.
It makes a big difference to see the person before you play. It's true.
Fiona,
Yes, me. Hello.
Sigfreda.
Ooh.
Oh, get out of here! Look at that thing.
Yes, look at that hat. Look at that hat.
Now, I tried to give this sort of bear claw thing. It's seeing my face. It's like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, to fit round Taylor's model, and I couldn't make it work. But I thought actually you needed a bit of like edge.
You
And
did.
Yeah.
What is that? Is it just like an incredible pauldron?
Yeah, it's like an incredible pauldron, but it also is like a bit of a beast's.
Oh,
Nice.
That
my
goes round,
god!
and then you've got the claw just on your collar.
Oh, I love
I'm
that.
getting. It's giving like Van Helsing scarecrow.
Yes.
Like
Yeah, see, that's the hand.
Absolutely. Van Helsing is the absolute vibe. Yes.
Yeah.
I
And then you've got
love it.
A fuck off sword as well.
Yeah, fuck off sword.
Fuck off
Yes.
sword.
You also have a little bit of a like great coat swish,
Yeah,
I do.
and that's why we're friends.
Yeah.
Now, on to the painting. With this, I started with Sigfreda this time. It's a pretty easy paint job in terms of colour combinations. Not a lot of different colours here. A lot of brown, because we've got leather, and wood. And there's a little bit of metal in there. So all over Mordheim brown on everything, pretty much. And then I went back over the leather bits of the cloak, the gloves, and the sheath with a wash, like a glaze mixture of Abaddon black, just to darken it up and separate it out from the straps and the wood elements. I then went over everywhere that would be metal with Abaddon black, because I'll dry brush that later. Did the hat as I did the rest of the leather, and then did a little black wash over the fur just to darken it up a bit. Then went over the barrel with a lighter brown to sort of give it more of that wood vibe, and use that light brown to highlight the straps and just bring those out, pop them out a bit separate from that leather coat, because we want that leather coat to be really worn and a sort of blackened, tarred leather. I then went over the boots and the legs in Abaddon black, because again, just sort of separating them out from the rest of the leather before moving on to the base, where using a mixture of sort of stone colours and greys, I tried to make a sort of variation on the pattern. and then put brown over this muddy bit. Really the idea here was to go for a sort of brownier tone on the cobblestones that are in the road and the sort of more greys on the upper level, and then using mixes of those with lighter and darker tones to create more of a variation in the pattern, as you can see here, just sort of taking one stone and darkening it up and then another one and lightening it up, and just creating that more natural variation that you would get in patina that you would have in a stone floor. Next up, I did a little bit of a lighter brush over the fur just to bring that back up again, because that black wash had darkened it out a little bit too much, because I am then going to do washes later. And then started on the metals with the brush on the more finer areas, and then using the dry brush on other bits, or just when I wanted to catch the edge of something, particularly on that pauldron and on the sort of hilt of the sword. I also had to do the edges of the barrel, give them their little metal sort of straps, and then look at that poise and precision for those little dots on the hat. Very nice. Good work there, Hamilton. Next up, it's the washes. God, drench it in wash, because we're doing grimdark here. So we start off with Seraphim Sepia. We want to have that sort of worn look, that grimy coloration that you get from the sepia. I do love Agrac's Earthshade, and I do use that later on the base, but when I'm trying to go for that like aged look, I start with that first, with the sepia. So yeah, coat everything in it. That's pretty much it, really. Capture anything, don't worry what it is, and then get the Agrac's Earthshade for that ground, because as I said, it's got this sort of muddy texture where it's sort of mixing in. Obviously, I kind of went a bit too much over those cobblestones, so just using a sponge to dab it off where I didn't want it, and also didn't want too much sepia on that metal on the pauldron, because I didn't want it to look too rusted. Next up, it's the Nuln Oil. So trying to grey out the greyer stone textures with that, and bringing a bit of that on the cobbles just to separate that out from the mud. But this is when I made a mistake. Trying to dry everything, I melted the bow, as you can see. So I made it a feature, exactly. I cut the bow straps, which had melted. What I did is I put it too close to my heater to sort of dry it out, and I think with all the wash on it, it just completely constricted. But it made this rifle bolt thrower, and I was like, why didn't I do that in the first place? So happy accidents. Next up, dry brushing a light tan brown onto this now darkened cloak, just bringing out that sort of worn, aged look. Starting with the dry brush and trying to get the raised areas, and letting the brush edges sort of catch it, so it just gives it that streakiness, and then using a very fine brush to draw on like edged and scratched and torn bits to the leather, just really giving it that aged look. Once that's done, I then went over all of those sort of areas of the leather and some of the gun that I'd done with a Nuln Oil, and as you can see, it makes those lighter tan areas completely pop. It's really cool. I then also did another wash over the base just to darken it down a little bit more, and there they were, looking fierce. I love it. Next up, Eadric. Now, I actually thought this was going to be the harder one, but I think I got my eye in with Sigfreda, and also I put quite a lot of effort into that leather and aging it down. It did take a lot more time than I thought. So here it was really about setting down the base coats, starting off with the lighter sort of beigey tones on those jogpers, and then black leather riding boots, a lighter bonier colour on the inside of the cloak, and then classic bit of Mornfang brown on the leather straps and all the leather accoutrement, black again on the breastplate and the shoulder pauldrons where I'm going to make them metallic and dry brush over the top. I always do that as a base just because it means I could make it more aged and worn, because I could change and adapt the way I dry brush it. The gloves were given a black because I wanted those to be like the boots, like a black leather, and then I did the mirror because that again is going to be metallic. For the cloak, I started with this quite cerulean blue, but I didn't like that, so I mixed in a bit of a warmer tone, which gave it a bit of a richness, and I really like that. So I just painted that over, being careful on the edges here, to give the cloak a lovely royal blue. Just working over the straps once again, just tidying up anything, mistakes that I'd made or overpaints. Gave this rosette, which is sort of the insignia with the Sigmar seal, in a little bit of a pink, just to give a splash of colour. Then for the face, it was Cadian flesh tone, and then on the hair, I used the classic Duncan Rhodes Warhammer recipe, which was Xandri dust. For the box, I used the same Mournfound brown for the leather. I then also just dabbed on afterwards a black wash using a Baden Black in a glaze sort of mixture to just splatter that on and make it look a bit rougher. Next up was the Snow Leopard. Now in order to do this, I got a very well loaded brush, very fine tip, and being very careful drawing slightly irregular C patterns that overlap and intersect, and a couple of dots. And actually doing that slowly and carefully, it was able to come out pretty successfully, I feel. Next up was all the detailing, which had to be in gold because it's Eadric, so I need to express that well. So all the little buckles, studs, and the filigree on the gun. I didn't want the whole gun to be that full Castor-Troyner. I also gave a dry brush of that on the mirror. Those shoulder pauldrons to set off against that royal blue I thought would be great, and that made me then think of doing this little edging strip in that same gold on the edge of the cloak, because what's so like Eadric about this is kind of building the character in my mind that they would definitely go on a jaunt to Mordheim wearing a cloak with a gold trim. And so yeah, being very careful and fine, just creating that line. Now it's the dry brushing stage. So on this leather chest, I actually dry brushed the steel in the lead belcher a bit rougher on it to make it look like it's actually a steel lockbox that's been cased in leather, which I kind of liked, and it's been well worn. And then also doing that on the guns and all the other bit of metal bits. The base, I did exactly the same as the last one, so you can just go back to Sigfreda, and I just copied that. Exactly the same recipe, so easy there. Now for the shading, it was actually a little less grimdark, this one. I wanted them to definitely be different to Sigfreda. So here I used Agrac's Earthshade over all the beiges, the browns, and the sort of brassy gold tones. And then I wicked it off with a clean brush before doing the Drakenhof Nightshade on that blue cloak, because I want Eadric to look refined. I'm happy for the environment to be a bit more grimdark, and yeah, obviously I've slathered on to the base the same sort of level of grunge, but I wanted them to at least look like this is the beginning of a campaign, which it is. These models were for the beginning of the campaign, and if you do watch the series, I'm going to have to go back and make some quite drastic, very drastic changes to Eadric's model, which is going to require a whole much bigger, let's say, demonic converting. Anyway, all that was left to do was to put the black on the edges of the bases and show you how it came together. Let's have a look. Have I captured?
I am actually shocked because I didn't picture it being this cool. You did some stuff that I was like, oh my god, props. And then the hair was so good, and then let's talk about the fur. Well, I mean, I was joking, but I obviously, if you can have some snow leopard, you want. I mean, come on. I do feel like I have to live up to something a bit. This is a totally different energy.
But you're a cad, though. You're a cad. You can still be a cad.
But I have to be such a good cad.
Oh, but Tay, if anyone's going to be a cad, right? Come on.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, like, I know.
But I mean, like, now that I've seen them, like, it's brought me into it a lot more.
There you go.
Oh, wow. Oh my god, they look great.
Have you actually got them now?
Yep, hat.
Good. You did ask for a crossbow.
I was going to say, where's the
heat-related incidents? Where I tried to dry the ink and my electric heater. I put it too close and the plastic was way too thin. It's never happened before, but it completely just broke.
You know what? It feels very you as a result, and also it feels very in keeping with what I do as well. It actually looks really cool. Like, it feels very anime. Like, this is something that stands me out from the other witch hunters.
It just makes you look like you've got like a bolt action, like bolt gun. You know, like a bolt gun.
I think I said that I really wanted. I was torn between like a huge crossbow and like pistols and stuff like that. So actually combine the two, perfect. What a duo! I want them to come save the day.
Please help fuel this CAD fire by liking and subscribing to the video.
Thank you, Tay. Jeez.
But like, what a dream. I want to have a mini every time I play a game forever now.